Hey everyone, excited to be back for this week's edition of Frequently Asked Questions for Commercial Real Estate. In today's video, what I wanted to do was talk about a term that's extremely important in commercial real estate, especially for those who are looking to invest in commercial property. And that is what's known as, what exactly is net operating income in real estate? Now, before we dive into this video, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to this channel. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and ensures more and more people can hear this message and learn about the many facets of commercial real estate. So now that you've done that, let's go ahead and dive right into this episode. All right, so first off, let's define exactly what net operating income is. Well, net operating income is a real estate term representing a property's gross operating income minus its operating expenses. Now, this may be kind of confusing, especially if you don't have experience in the commercial space. So let's break it down into its component parts so you better understand how exactly this is calculated. So, to calculate net operating income, you would take your gross rents. So this could include, your rents from the tenants of the property, whether that's a residential tenant or a business tenant, plus any additional rent. So if you have percentage rent or laundry rent or some other type of maybe storage rent, if you're leasing storage to your tenants, all that combined is going to be the first part of the equation. Next, you're going to subtract out vacancy and credit loss. So typically in markets for vacancy, you're looking at, anywhere between, let's say 3%, sometimes to 10+%, depending on, the market dynamics and what property type you're looking at. Maybe in your market, industrial properties are extremely low vacancy rates, maybe at 3 to 5%, whereas maybe an office property, the office market in your area is maybe at that 10 or 15% vacancy rate. Again, it's going to be very specific to your particular market and the property type that you are looking at as well. So once you've subtracted out your vacancy and credit loss, now you got to subtract out your operating expenses. Your operating expenses can include things like, your repairs and maintenance cost, utilities, taxes, insurance, trash and snow removal, management fees, capital expenditures. So, allocating a portion of your income that you produce to account for future capital outlays like replacing a roof or, replacing the HVAC system of a property, etc. So once you have the operating expenses in place for the year, you would essentially take your gross rents, which includes your total rents plus additional rents, minus your creditancy and vacant loss, which is a percentage of your total gross rents, or your total gross rents, which would be maybe in the 3 to 10+% range, and then subtract out the operating expenses, and that gives you your net operating income. Essentially what this numbers means is that if you were to buy that property for cash, you could expect to get that amount of money back to you each and every year that you hold the property. Now, the reason why this value is so important is because investors use that number to determine a few things. One is, what is your return going to be over a period of time? Especially if you're putting on debt on the property now, you would subtract out from the net operating income your mortgage expense, and that could help you calculate your cash on cash return for that investment opportunity. And more importantly, it gives you an idea of what the value of that property could be, because in order to calculate the value of a commercial property, value is equal to net operating income divided by a cap rate. And we talked about exactly what a cap rate is in an earlier video, and I'll go ahead and put it up here. But essentially, you would take that net operating income divided by cap rate, and that will give you a projected value for that particular property. Now, when you're looking to calculate net operating income, there's a few things you should consider as you're analyzing pro formas. So let's say that you approach a commercial real estate agent, and they provide you with a opportunity for an investment property. When you're analyzing that pro forma, here's a few things you need to consider. When you're analyzing rents for a property, make sure that they are the actual rents and not projected rents. Sometimes what happens, in order to paint the property in the best light, commercial real estate agents will write projected rents, meaning that if you were able to get this property nice and ready to go and everything else and get your property up to market rents, this is what the rents would be, but that may or may not be the actual rents. So digging in a little bit to determine whether those are actual rents is of value to you as someone who's looking to purchase the commercial real estate opportunity. Another thing you need to look at is the operating expenses. Scrutinize them heavily, because what you may realize is that they may not include certain common operating expenses in there because the landlord may have decided to take on some of the management responsibilities, some of the repairs and maintenance responsibilities, and various other components of the operating of a property in their own hands. Therefore, they're not allocating, certain values within their pro formas that they are giving to investors. So those are the type of things you need to look at, because you should always account for some form of management fee, because at a certain point, I'd imagine that you probably don't want to have to manage the property or your entire life. So factoring in a management fee is of benefit to you. And then also trying to get a feel for what the market rates are for utility costs, snow removal, all the other operating expenses affiliated with running a property, and then using that in your analysis to determine what the value of that particular property is. So those are some of the things you need to consider when you're determining what the net operating income is. And hopefully now that we've talked about what net operating income is, you can utilize this strategy within your investment analysis, and now you can make better decisions as it pertains to investing in commercial property. So I hope you gained some value from this video. I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to this channel. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and ensures more and more people can hear this message. Along with that, if you are looking to buy, lease, or sell commercial property in the Louisville metro area, this includes obviously Louisville and Southern Indiana, and just south of Louisville as well, I'd be happy to help you do so. In particular, if you're looking to invest in commercial property, that's one of my specializations. I'd be happy to do so. Feel free to reach out to me. My number is 502-536-7315, or you can reach me via email at Raphael@grisantigroup.com. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.